which we call a moral right. It's a right to art. If you want money, if you want some money, the rights you need to understand are the economic rights. How are they exploited? And if you want to be part of the whole package, always remember, whatever money you receive, you must be categorical. You must be categorical, or in the arrangement that you make, or in the deal. If there is something you want to keep, let it be written. And like for example, in the law, many people, of course, say you cannot buy a house under the law, but in a general layman understanding of layman understanding, you go to a lawyer and you say, I'm buying a house. You go to a lawyer and you say, I'm buying a house. But a lawyer may not argue with you. Why? Because he knows the kind of contract in the law. People buy land. They don't buy houses. Of course, there are other laws that provide for condominium. Of course, there are other laws arrangements. But under the law, when you buy land, you have also when you buy land, the house. You have, and it is sufficient even if it's a palace. It is sufficient to say, and it is sufficient even if it's a palace developed land. It is sufficient to say you vote. It is developed land. But there can be an arrangement because when you buy a house, you cannot even take away the windows. Because if it is attached on the land with anything other than its body weight, take away the windows. Transferred with the land. Because if it is attached on the land, but if you want to keep the windows, it is transferred with the land. You must make an agreement. But if you want to keep the windows, if there are trees that you wish to take away off that land, you must make an agreement to the contrary. Otherwise, when you sell land, you cannot come back and say, I want to take my trees. If there was no land to the contrary, you cannot come back and say, I want to take my trees. If you sell your economic rights agreement under Section 8, so the same thing. Any claim, if you sell your economic rights, any claim under Section 8 to economic rights, any claim that has not clearly been defined, any claim is just many to economic rights that may not that has not clearly been defined on paper. Is just many. In the interest of time, I want to proceed. Yield any legal. I still want to tell you that section. In the interest of time, section I want to proceed. Songwriter, section 8 and section 9 want to tell you that section important. Very important. For a songwriter, the definition of a and section 9 of a producer is also very important. The definition of a very important of a producer is also something that very important. Briefly, I want to look at very important the tests for copyright. Now we are looking at, we've seen the nature of copyright. Briefly, I want to look at the tests for copyright. Now we are looking at, we've seen the nature of copyright. That you are the songwriter of this product. I believe some of you have been in when can you claim that where your song has been challenged product? A person comes and says, you have been in scenarios, he used the word where your song has been, but I was the first one. A person comes and says, that is he used the word the beat of this song, but really, I was the first one. A flimsy claim. And now that is there are times when people come with a beat of substantive claims. Really, a flimsy. What are the tests? Claim. Copyright. The first one to understand. There are times when people come with a bit of substantive claims. Originality. What are the tests must be? The first one to understand is originality. What does originality mean for a songwriter? Must be original. Originality, what does originality mean? Is not what everybody wants to believe, actually. Originality in songwriting does not mean that what is not what everybody wants to believe, actually. No. Originality in songwriting does not mean that what you create should be new. I want you to follow very well. Originality under the law does not require that I want you to follow very well. New. Knowledge evolves. Originality under the law does not require we are lucky that you create that the tests new. Knowledge for copyright. The tests for copyright are not like the ones for patents. We are lucky that the tests under patents, there is a requirement for copyright. The tests for copyright are not like the ones for patents. But Under patents, there is a requirement that what you create internationally and in Uganda, under copyright, but the requirement of originality, under our law, only internationally and in Uganda, under copyright, that you didn't copy. The requirement of originality only requires, and in copying another person, the requirement is that the efforts to create this copying work another person are independent. The requirement mimicking is somebody else. The efforts to create this work are but independent. It does not stop there. You're not mimicking somebody else. There is John in Kampala, and there is but it does not stop in Iganga. Let's say there is enough evidence John in Kampala, and there is not have access in Iganga. John. And there is enough evidence, and the reverse is true, that James, but they have did come not have with access that John is the same. And the reverse we can is blame true. God. But they have come up with a product. All of their copyrights will be upheld. We can they blame were inspired God at the same time. But I mean, you are creative. All of their copyrights where do these will ideas be upheld? If they were inspired at the same time. I mean, you are creatives. Where do these ideas come from? Yes, you see, you have monopoly. If you don't have monopoly to the source, all you need to prove is that I didn't have access. You see, if you don't have monopoly to the source, all identical pieces of work, is as long as you can prove that you didn't copy the other, and two can exist. Identical pieces of work, as long as you can prove originality, does not require that what you create can exist. But all you need to show is that this was your originality. I don't intend to mislead you. Is new. But so when you're creating a work, is that this was your independent originality effort. Does not I don't stop intend you from being inspired by another so person. When you're creating a work, a songwriter for many years, originality does not stop you from being inspired by another person. I have been to get into a songwriter for many years, and I want to believe that I inspired. And like the argument we had here in the morning, to get into songwriting. When you contribute, you understand, to my wedding, and like the argument we had here in the morning, it does not, mean that you should also claim the bride. When you contribute to my wedding, you don't. It does not, mean that you should also claim the bride. So, under that arrangement, you must clearly be able to understand. So that originality does under that arrangement that you should not must clearly be able to understand. Listen to all the music in the world. Originality, for example, music has a, and I'm talking to songwriters. They know what listen I mean. To all the music in the world. Has a, for example, music has a, and I'm talking to songwriters. They know are the codes. What I mean. Music has a, is creating new codes. What I can call the DNA of music are the codes. Popular music has the same codes. Who is creating new codes? Who created we are all doing the same codes? I don't know. Popular music has the same code, but we all use the same. Who created this? So if originality was going to be something to do like newness in music, if it was going to require, so if originality, like human beings that was going to be need a new human being, then we're going to have one that has two eyes at the back, like human beings that now, if we need a new human being, cheeks on the then hands, we're going to have one that has two eyes at the back. That would be and one at a misleading assumption. It does not require that what you create is new. Then get inspired. A misleading I tell songwriters assumption. It does not require that what you create is new. Every music. A lot of people that come to me to teach them to write. I tell songwriters, the first thing I tell them that be I do inspired. Not have the right. Listen the time to every music. I don't a have lot of people that come to me to teach them to write. The first thing I tell them that I do not have the time. I don't have the time to teach. Advice that I can give. Never ask for permission to copy. But if you like what I do, advice me that I can give. Never ask for permission to copy. Yes. Copy. If you like what I do, copy me. You understand? Don't ask permission. Yes. To copy. But just make sure that you don't lift other people's things. Don't ask permission. Yes. Copy wisely. To copy. In fact, when you're for scholars, but just make sure when you copy from that you don't lift other people's things. To plagiarize. Yes. Copy wisely. You get somebody's work in fact, you claim it as yours. For scholars, when you copy from, it is criminal to copy, to plagiarize. You get somebody's work and you claim it as yours. And but for scholars, you understand what they say? Plagiarism is when you copy from one source. But when you copy from many sources, for scholars, that is research. What they say. That is what gives you a doctorate. When you copy from one source. But when you copy from many sources, that is research. That is what gives you a doctorate.
Thank you. Now, I had forgotten that I am in the house with the creatives. I think that is the takeaway.
Copyright.
Thank you.
In the right manner.
Now, so, I had forgotten that I am in the house with the creatives.
So, I think that is the takeaway to the originality. Some of these ideas we keep talking about, but I want to move forward.
That is an interesting
to do away with the second one.
So, before I exhaust the
application to ideas, some of these ideas we keep talking about, but I want to move forward to do away with the second one.
He took my idea.
Non-application to ideas.
He took my idea.
This is another test.
If you want to retain your idea,
make a non-disclosure agreement.
We were chatting and he took my idea.
And make sure it covers properly.
If you want to retain your idea,
want to be stolen as an idea,
make a non-disclosure agreement.
But copyright does not protect
Sign it,
ideas.
And make sure it covers
properly.
There are two people in the world that fail.
The ones that do without thinking,
all know.
And the ones that think without doing.
So, it doesn't matter how many ideas you have in your head. We all know you cannot cure hunger by drawing pictures of bread. You have an idea in your head. It can't be protected by copyright. You have an idea of bread in your head. You can't cure hunger with it. You must actually have bread. You must have the bread. Or if you manage to draw that bread on a piece of paper, and the bread can be sold as a piece of art, then yes, we can say you have expressed the bread, that bread on a piece of paper from it, and the bread can be sold as a piece of art. And then you buy the real bread. You can say you have expressed the bread. So copyright does not apply to ideas as a fine art. So everybody out there, and then you buy the real bread. If you have all these ideas, so copyright does not apply to ideas. With all these ideas, everybody out there, if you have all these ideas, all your strategy is to start looking out to people that have expressed themselves, expressed these ideas as people that have stolen from you. Strategy. There could be other looking out to people that have expressed themselves, expressed these ideas as people that have stolen from you. Many of you songwriters have heard all these guys. After writing the song, you see a person claiming, that was my idea. I gave him my idea. And we have one of the things I don't many of you songwriters have heard all these guys. After writing the song, you see a person claiming, that was my idea. Recorded. I gave him my idea. One of the things I don't do as a songwriter, and many times I do not listen in reason to music that has not been. Sometimes when I'm writing, I don't know where the inspiration is coming from. A lot of people didn't know why. It could be something that I had from your work before you publish. Sometimes when I'm writing, I don't know where the inspiration is coming from. I write a song. It could be something that I had. I could mouth a few your work of the ideas that were I don't know. And the key word is idea. And then now I write a song. It doesn't mean I stole your copyright. And copyright does not a few protect the ideas that were in your work. So if you don't want your idea to be stolen, it doesn't mean I stole your copyright. Don't share it. Copyright does not protect don't share it. So if you don't want your idea to be stolen, that is why don't share it. People don't that have paper lips may not be. That is why a slight leakage when it comes to people that have paper lips economically exploitable by them. They say all their ideas, and they put them at risk. To what so you as a songwriter, or you as a creative, you just know that even if it kills you, and they put them at risk. If you don't want your idea, so you as the songwriter, or you as a creative, keep quiet. You just know until you express it kills you. And there is what we call, if you don't want a poor man is copyright. This one is going to lose battery, so prepare. A poor man is copyright. So non-application to ideas is what we're talking about. And this is also key for you. So
Stop claiming he stole my idea. Non-application to ideas is what we're talking
under
about.
Copyright ideas
and
are
this
not
is
stolen.
also
They are not capable of being stolen.
Under stop claiming he stole my idea. Even actually under the law, because under the law,
ideas are not
for something for
of being stolen.
under copyright for a person to even actually under the law, because to succeed under the law, theft for something to succeed for a person to under the offense to succeed of theft, to succeed ingredient that must be fulfilled under the offense must be capable of being of theft stolen. The first must be capable of being stolen. That and must that is be in fulfilled is that something must be capable, meaning that being even in the penal code stolen. Clearly must be capable of being questionable, and that is an idea can be stolen. But of course, there are other laws, meaning like that even in the penal agreements that people can make, clearly, but still that is it is questionable whether an idea can be stolen. But of course, there are other laws like non-disclosure agreements. Of course, every time there is an argument still that is a little, there are general rules and there are many exceptions. But under the criminal arena, copyright, I think I have. Of course, every time there is an argument of the law to ideas, there are general rules. You cannot cure many exceptions. By thinking about bread, I have exhausted that. So it does if you can draw the bread to ideas, draw the picture of the bread, hunger, if it qualifies as fine art, by thinking about bread. It. But so an idea of if bread you in your head, draw the bread. I don't know the picture of the bread. Strategy if it qualifies as fine art, hunger, then you can say it. Yes. But an idea of bread in your head, then non-application to ideas, if it's the strategy, it's a bit of a cousin to the next one that we see, which is material form. Material form, non-application is also to ideas. We need to be able to a bit of a cousin to the next one that we see, which is material form. Work or when can my product be protected is also something that we need to be able to understand. What is material live when the arena of ideas work become or when can my product material form? When does my product leave the arena? I want to introduce you to an idea which they used to call the poor man's copyright, material form. The poor man's copyright was simply I want to introduce you to an idea which using any means the poor man's copyright and posting it to yourself on the phone. There is a poor man's copyright in 2009. Was simply and that is to create something using any means things on the and posting it to yourself on the phone. There is a song I wrote in 2009 for Irene Namubiru, and that is the year when I started backing up things on the iPhone. 2009. That song was for Irene Namubiru. Nkwagala nyonze kale mazima mpulira mukwano gunseko bambi pictures. The quality. It does not wish to commercialize. The laws of the land, if, for example, can stop you, but they do not take away your copyright. The laws of the land, if you wish to exploit the laws of the land pictures in another country, not Uganda, but they do not take away allows for such trade. You understand what I mean? The laws of the land. It does not affect your copyright. If you wish to exploit these, your exploitation may be in another country, not Uganda. The regulations that allows of the place where you wish to sell. Okay, you understand what I mean? And you write it does not affect your copyright. Does it take away your exploitation? May be we had by like the regulations, songs like the regulations, Mboko of the place where you wish to sell. Okay, let's say and all of these were commercially exploited. Some of them government tried to stop them. We had songs but the like thing is, if you are looking for the person that wrote a message, the moral right cannot be taken away. These were commercially exploited. And if he has not, some of them economic rights have not devolved, he still keeps. But the thing is, if you are looking for the person that wrote a message, and the quality, the moral right cannot be taken away. And if he has I remember time when people if his economic rights have not devolved, he still keeps his economic rights. The purpose is irrelevant. Because at that time we used to sell and the quality is and you'll be on the street, a guy comes, is selling to you your music, packaged even remember better. Time when people used to. So better packaging peak does not take away my copyright, even if at that time we used to sell. You understand? A guy comes, is selling to you your music, material form even better, does not look at quality, does not better look at purpose, and it does not dictate any formality. That is why today, when we are looking at the author's entitlement to copyright, we look at Section 4. And I quote this because I believe we are going to get some copyright experts in this. One thing that I want you to totally wash out of your minds. Being a copyright expert does not require you to be a lawyer like me. Because being a lawyer in this simply means you have one thing that I want you to kinds of totally wash that is out why of your minds. Being a lot of people that copyright expert does not require you to do business like me. So you, as a person who is now dealing in the knowledge-based economy, interested in investing there, you are a songwriter, you can become a copyright expert. And the journey is now. Look at Section 4 in the knowledge-based economy. It is where we have been interested in investing there. And you are a songwriter, Section 4, you can become a copyright. The law says the protection expert of author's work. And the journey is now. Shall not be subject. Look at Section 4. Any formality. Tests for copyright. That is why it is not mandatory that you go and register your work. And under Section 4, subsection 2, the law says it doesn't mean that it is a totally work without value. Shall not be subject. It has evidential to any formality. Purpose of evidence. It is not mandatory. And even when you go to URSB to register, it doesn't mean that it is totally. What do you get? Without value when you go to register. Does anybody know? It has evidential value. You get a certificate of evidence. What certificate do you get? And even, when you go to URSB to register, like if it is for copyright, you do not get. What do you get? So you actually when you go to register, a certificate of copy. You don't get a certificate. You get a certificate. What but you get a certificate of copyright registration. And what does that mean? Like if it is that the registration is not conclusive. So you actually get come with a better claim of, and you don't get a certificate of copyright, but you get a certificate of copyright. You understand what I mean? Registration. So it is not mandatory. What does that mean? That the registration is not conclusive. A person can come with a better claim, this one, and rebut your registration. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? So it is not mandatory to register, whatever that. So it is important on this one to look at Section 4 of the law. Yeah. You'll have your right as long as it is in material form. Yes, material form could also mean writing it on paper. So it is important. And there are some interesting scenarios when it comes to copyright that you'll have your right be able, as long as it is in material form, across. Material form could also mean writing it. If we are talking about a song. And there are some interesting scenarios. And you wrote it copyright that on paper. You can be able. And like I told you, the poor man's copyright. Across. I write my lyrics. For instance, if we are posting my lyrics on a song on my email, and I wrote it on paper. In 2013, a person and like I told you, the poor man's copyright. Wrote the song. I write my lyrics, but the song they claim to have written, and I post my lyrics. All the words are mine on my email. Wouldn't that now show a bit of evidence that they stole, that they wrote the song? At least there can song be they claim to have written, because there are even musicians that have always been working with lyricists. Now show a bit of evidence, a songwriter and a lyricist that they stole, maybe slightly different from each other. At least there can be evidence that they lyricist, because there are even musicians that have always been working with lyricists. He writes, he plays the piano, creates the melody, then the other guy feeds in the words. Maybe slightly. I don't know if there are any artists that work like that. And you all know a lyricist. Elton John used to work all arrangements. You see that there are many dynamics. He plays the piano, creates the melody, then the other guy dynamic feeds in the words. I don't know if there are any artists that work like that. Yeah, but all arrangements. You see that there are many dynamics. There are many verse MTN dynamics and SMS media to this. In this case, the plaintiff sued for the use of his speeches as ringtones, claiming copyright infringement. Evidence was adduced that the plaintiff was answering questions put to him by various persons about the proceedings of the parliamentary vetting committee the plaintiff and other subjects. For the use of audio-visual recordings, there are several voices and persons speaking, and it is not exclusive. Evidence was adduced that the plaintiff was answering questions put to him by various persons about the proceedings of the parliamentary vetting committee for you to and other subjects. And on the things we have learned recordings, in this one we can see independent persons speaking, and it is not exclusively. If somebody has been asking you the questions now, and you are answering questions, a nugget, as we talked earlier, for you to chew. You can never claim that the things we have answer is more important. In this one, we can see independent effort. If a person has been asking you questions, if somebody has been asking you the question, copyright, is there independent effort? As probably we talked not earlier, you can never claim probably that not. An answer is more important than the question. If a person has been asking you process by process, can you claim it was the same scenario? Is there independent effort? Questions? Probably not. And she was probably not answering them. Independent effort, process by process. It was the same scenario. The asking her case, we shall not divulge so much into it, but it has scenarios that can teach us something. To summarize what we are learning, independent effort. There is also an incidence of that case. Now we are talking about originality, but it has scenarios that can teach us something. Happened, to summarize what we are learning today. There is also an incidence of from the gospel circles. Or the church was saying now we are talking about originality. You are changing its meaning. You remember what happened when that song came out? And of course, there is a faction. They made the submission from the gospel circles, physically, or the church circles, by voice, saying this was a gospel and also song. By print. You are changing its meaning. But why did this fail? And why did this claim fail? Because it was clear this song. They made the submission, and now they were using physically, it to carry by voice, political messages, and also by print. But now it takes us back to what we learned about the economic. Why did this claim fail? Because it was clear this song was a gospel song. And the moral rights. And now they were using it to carry fact. Political messages. Who is claiming? The person supposed to claim is the author. Now it takes us back to what we learned about the original the economic rights of the author. As far as we know, it is an orphaned work. Moral rights are a matter of fact. So who is claiming? Who is claiming? The moral rights? The person supposed to claim is the right that it has been. So who wrote modified to carry different message? Nobody. As far as we know, number two, it is an orphaned work. So who is claiming? If the moral rights, claim copying the right that it has been existing modified to carry different message. This person was copying. Number two. Copying, if we are to claim an existing work, copying, who had to claim? Work. It would be the owner. This person was copying of the work. And where is the owner of the work? Nobody knows. Copying an existing work. So that case had who had to claim? It could not go. It would be the owner of the work. So, and where is the owner of the work? Very important. Nobody knows. Look at some of those arrangements. So in that the Sebagala case, no also the plaintiff did not give a speech of any kind, anywhere. But he merely answered the questions. That is what I was saying. That were asked by the assembled journalists important and other present people. Look at the plaintiff did not refer to or in the Sebagala case. Consult also, any notice. The plaintiff did not give a speech that had been of any kind prepared. This would mean if in that case. The late Sebagala, may so rest in peace, had come refer to or adduced the evidence that whatever he said, he had written that had been prior prepared. This would mean his independent effort. If in that case, the late Sebagala, may so before these questions came in, had come, probably that would have made evidence a little bit of change whatever he said to the whole. He had written it. Then the plaintiff did not record or commission with his independent effort. The speech prior, but rather it was recorded before these questions came efforts of the third party. Probably that would have made a little bit of change to the whole thing. Does that answer some of them? Then the plaintiff did not material or commission anyone who has financed, who has organized the speech, but rather it was recorded the fixing of this work efforts of the third party. And that is why even musicians, when you're going to TV, does that answer some of your questions? Some of these material, for example, if you have a who has financed, who has organized of course, it is going to be
the
recorded.
fixing of this work.
And the issue of exploitation.
And that is why even musicians,
if you don't
when you're going
put a
to
limit
TV,
to it, you find
and
that
you do not wish some of these things, for example,
live
if you
recording
have
of you
a live
gig, and they upload it
on TV,
and start monetizing.
of course, it is going to be recorded. And the issue of exploitation
becomes also
because if you don't put
you went there willingly,
you find that
yes,
you did not qualify.
Done a live recording of you performing, and they upload it and start monetizing it.
The holding
without giving you a dime.
The caller tunes in controversy
because
are not the product.
You went there willingly
and you didn't cut away. You did not qualify.
Similarly, the plaintiff did not reduce the interview into material form in any way.
The holding was that the caller tunes in controversy.
So every time you hear independent efforts,
that is what originality.
Similarly, the plaintiff did not reduce
from you.
the interview into
It
material
does not
form
mean it is new.
So this is how these work.
It must mean that it
so every time you hear independent
from you,
effort,
you did not see it original just from another person, and then you claimed to have it.
So that is how
new.
Sometimes courts have to
It
look at.
must mean that it came from you. You did
to look
not
at these
see
issues.
It just from another person, and
Then the last one that I want to look at
to have it
is
that
the
is
principle
how
de minimis.
sometimes courts
This
have
the
to
principle
look
de
at,
minimis. A lot of people do not. The law does not talk about
to
to look at these issues.
But it's a marriage
Of this section of
the
the
last
law
one that I want to look at
with another section
is,
of the law,
which will become
the principle de
very
minimis.
important in future. We may
This
not
the principle
be
de minimis. A
able to
lot of
address
people
it
do not.
today.
The law
I
does
don't know
not
how I
talk
am doing
about
on
it.
time, Sheila, but it's a marriage
Of this section of the law.
Yeah. So
With
section
another
15
section
of the law, which will
is
become
also very important.
very
Because it
important
talks
in
about
future. We may
fair
not
use.
be able
Because
to
the
address
law
it
has
today.
talked about
I don't know how I am doing on time,
exclusive
Sheila.
right to exploit your song. Meaning it is only you who can
Yeah.
enjoy
So section
your work
15 of the law is also very important because it talks about
unless
fair
you
use.
have authorized another
Because
person.
the law has talked about
To enjoy it. Other people can
exclusive
only
right
enjoy your work
to
with
exploit
your
your
authority.
song.
But
Meaning
otherwise,
it is only you
who can enjoy,
who can be able to enjoy
your
it.
work.
And that is what section 15 provides for in detail. It
Unless
is
you
one
have
of the
authorized
longest,
another person.
and it is the only defense
To enjoy it.
Other people can only enjoy
In
your work
copyright.
with your authority.
When we come
to
to
enjoy
the
it.
principle
And
de
that is
minimis,
what section 15,
which is talking
provides
about
for in detail. It is
avoidance
one of the longest
trivialities
and it is the
when
only
people are
defense
to court in
so
copyright.
the principle de minimis really says
Meaning
the law does not concern itself with
trifles to the principle de minimis.
You come and start claiming,
Which is
you see,
talking about
he put the word,
trivialities when people are going.
Okay, you should have used the word omukaz
to court.
But now why does he
So the
put
principle it is for all of us Ugandans. That is where we need to be inspired. We don't need to copy. So the principle de minimis really is only talking about how can you fairly. It was too small a matter on which to base a copyright infringement action. However, on the general face of it, for example, in songs, we have what we call hooks. Yegamba nti omuntu bw'omutemako olugalo ayinza obutafa. If you cut off a person's finger, they may not die. But if you cut out the heart, they will die. So, do not go around copying people's hooks, stealing people's hooks, claiming under the principle de minimis. Sometimes the hook is everything. Or taking away. Sorry, just a minute. So under the principle de minimis, like I was saying, it gives a bit of creative liberty to copy others. But like my colleague here, Dr. Brain, inspired us to take away a hook from this one. Is that as much as we are looking at copyright, we should also be right. So do not seek inspiration from nothing. If you're a musician, look at other musicians. If you're a songwriter, look at other songwriters and copy right. Because when you copy right,
that under section 45 of the law of the Corporate and Neighboring Rates Act, as they prepare this technology to get working again, I like to emphasize the issue of the principle de minimis in relation with the fair use doctrine. We call it the fair use doctrine because it is the only defense, the fair use doctrine, the only defense fair use. Other
jurisdictions call it fair practice. Fair use. Under which circumstances can you go away with copying? If you have copied, very little. But also, facts and circumstances can determine